The wrench slipped from my greasy fingers and clanged against the concrete driveway. I was under the hood of my beat-up Ford pickup, trying to coax another month out of the radiator, when Kana's voice cut through the kitchen window like a blade. "I'm tired of your boundaries and concerns, Jace. Be a man." I froze, my hands still gripping the radiator hose. Through the yellow glow of our kitchen window, I could see her pacing back and forth, phone pressed to her ear. Her voice carried that particular edge she reserved for conversations she thought I couldn't hear. "He questions everything, every decision, every choice. I can't breathe in this house anymore." The person on the other end must have said something because she laughed, sharp and bitter. "No, Russ gets it. He actually listens when I talk. He makes me feel like a woman instead of some kind of business partner who has to justify every move." Russ McCabe from her real estate office. The guy with the perfect teeth and the luxury sedan who showed up to our barbecue last summer wearing a polo shirt that probably cost more than my weekly paycheck. I'd watched him work the crowd that night, all charm and smooth talk, but his eyes kept finding their way back to my wife. I straightened up slowly, wiping my hands on an old rag. The neighborhood was quiet, except for the distant hum of traffic and the sound of Mrs. Henderson's television bleeding through her thin walls. Our street looked tired, houses that had seen better decades, lawns that fought a losing battle against dandelions, and driveways stained with oil from vehicles that should have been replaced years ago. Maybe if he acted like he wanted me instead of treating me like some kind of roommate? Kina's voice trailed off, then sharpened again. I deserve better than this. We both know it. I walked closer to the window, staying in the shadows. She was wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for Christmas, the one she said was too fancy for anywhere we ever went. Her dark hair was pulled back in that way that made her neck look elegant, and for a moment, I remembered why I'd fallen for her 15 years ago when she was just a secretary at the bank, and I was a welder with big dreams and calloused hands. "He's always been small-time, Russ. I thought he'd grow out of it, but some people are just limited." The words hit like a sucker punch to the gut. Limited. 15 years of marriage, a daughter, a house we'd built together from nothing, and I was limited. "Tomorrow night? The Marriott downtown?" She giggled. Actually giggled like some teenager planning her first date. "I'll tell him I'm showing properties late. He never questions work stuff anymore." She ended the call and stood there for a moment, staring out the window. I pressed myself against the side of the house, heart hammering against my ribs. When I heard her footsteps moving toward the stairs, I slipped back to my truck and pretended to work. The front door opened 20 minutes later, and Lila came out. Our 17-year-old daughter had Kina's dark hair and my stubborn chin, but lately she looked at me like I was some kind of disappointment she was forced to acknowledge. "Mom says dinner's ready." Her voice was flat, distracted. She was already texting someone, thumbs flying across her phone screen. "Thanks, kiddo. Just need to finish this up." "Whatever." She turned to go, then paused. "Dad? Yeah? Mom's not happy, like, really not happy. Maybe you should try harder or something." The words stung because they came from my daughter, the one person in this house who was supposed to be on my side. "What do you mean?" Lila shrugged, still not looking up from her phone. "I don't know, just... Russ actually talks to her like she matters. He brought her flowers last week when he stopped by the office. When's the last time you did something like that?" "Russ brought your mother flowers?" "God, Dad, it's not like that. He's just nice to her. He treats her like she's important instead of just taking her for granted all the time." She went back inside, leaving me standing in the driveway with a wrench in my hand and the distinct feeling that my world was shifting underneath my feet. The autumn air was getting cold, and the streetlights were starting to flicker on. Somewhere down the block, a dog was barking, and I could smell someone grilling burgers. Normal. Everything looked so damned normal. I packed up my tools and went inside. Kina was setting the table, humming something under her breath. She looked up when I walked in, and for just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, maybe, or calculation. "How's the truck?" she asked, her voice bright and artificial. "Still running." I washed my hands at the kitchen sink, watching her reflection in the window. "You seem happy tonight." "Do I?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I had a good day at work. Closed the Henderson property finally. Commission should be nice." Lila sat down at the table and immediately went back to her phone. Kina served some kind of casserole that smelled like tuna and disappointment. We ate in silence for a few minutes, the only sound the clicking of forks against plates and the occasional ping from Lila's device. "I might have to work late tomorrow," Kina said suddenly. "Showing some properties to out-of-town clients. Could be a big sale." I looked at her across the table, really looked at her. She was still beautiful, even after all these years, even after all the small disappointments and compromises that had worn us both down. But there was something different in her eyes now, something distant and calculating. "The Marriott downtown?" I asked quietly. She went very still. "What?" "Your late appointment. Is it at the Marriott downtown?" Lila looked up from her phone, sensing tension. Kina's face cycled through several expressions before settling on indignation. "I don't know what you're implying, Jace, but I don't appreciate the tone." "I'm not implying anything, just asking where you'll be." "Working, like I said." She stood up abruptly, grabbing her plate even though she'd barely touched her food. "I don't need to justify my schedule to you." She stalked into the kitchen, and I heard the aggressive clatter of dishes being loaded into the dishwasher. Lila was staring at me with something that looked like disappointment. "Nice, Dad. Real smooth." "What's that supposed to mean?" "You're being paranoid and weird. Mom works hard, and instead of supporting her, you're acting like some kind of jealous creep." Jealous creep. My own daughter thought I was a jealous creep for asking my wife where she was going to be. I finished eating in silence and went upstairs. Our bedroom felt smaller than usual, cluttered with Kina's real estate magazines and the expensive skincare products she'd started buying lately. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to process what I'd heard. 15 years. 15 years of marriage, and she was planning to meet another man at a hotel. When Kina came to bed an hour later, she moved around the room like I wasn't there. She took longer than usual with her nighttime routine, applying some kind of cream that smelled like flowers and money. When she finally got under the covers, she stayed on her side, facing away from me. "Kina?" "I'm tired, Jace. We need to talk. Tomorrow. I have an early meeting." I lay there in the darkness, listening to her breathe, waiting for sleep that wouldn't come. Outside, the wind was picking up, rattling the windows and sending leaves skittering across the driveway. The house creaked and settled around us, full of 17 years of memories and dreams that were apparently worth less than whatever Russ McCabe was offering. At some point, I must have dozed off, because I woke up to the sound of Kina's phone buzzing on her nightstand. The display lit up. "Russ? Can't wait for tomorrow." She was still asleep, or pretending to be. I watched the message disappear as the screen went dark, then stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next morning, Kina was gone before I woke up. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "Early showing, home late, don't wait up, K." No love, no XOXO, just K, like she was signing a business memo. Lila was already at school, and the house felt empty in a way that had nothing to do with the absence of people. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring at that note and trying to figure out when my marriage had turned into a polite arrangement between strangers. My phone rang. Work. "Jace, it's Tommy. We've got a problem with the Morrison job. Can you get down here early?" Tommy Castellano had been my supervisor at Meridian Construction for 8 years. Good guy, straight shooter, but he sounded stressed. How early? Now would be good. The client's having second thoughts about the foundation work, and they want to talk to the guy who's actually doing it. I drove to the job site through morning traffic, my mind split between foundation specs and hotel room reservations. The Morrison project was a custom house for some tech executive who'd made his fortune in app development and wanted to build his dream home on the outskirts of town. Big money, complicated design, the kind of job that could keep our crew busy for months if we didn't screw it up. The client meeting went well. Morrison was one of those guys who'd made a fortune being detail-oriented, and he appreciated talking to someone who actually understood the technical side of construction. We spent 2 hours going over soil reports and load calculations, and by the time we finished, he seemed satisfied that his house wasn't going to sink into the ground. "You know your stuff, Jace," he said as we shook hands. "Tommy's lucky to have you." "Thanks, Mr. Morrison. We'll take good care of your project." Driving back to the main office, I felt that brief satisfaction that comes from doing something well, from being respected for your expertise. It was a feeling I didn't get much at home anymore. Tommy was waiting for me with paperwork and a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. "Morrison happy?" "Happy enough. He wants weekly updates directly from me, but that's not a problem." "Good, because I've got some news that might interest you." He leaned back in his chair, studying my face. Tommy had a way of delivering information that made you feel like you were about to hear something important. "You know how we've been talking about expanding into commercial work? Maybe getting away from just residential?" "Yeah. Well, I got a call yesterday from a development company in Colorado. They're looking for an experienced foreman to oversee a mixed-use project outside Denver. Shopping center, office complex, residential units. 2-year contract, maybe 3 if it goes well." I set down my coffee cup. "Colorado? I know it's a big move, but the money's serious. 50% more than you're making here, plus relocation expenses and housing allowance. They want someone who can manage multiple crews and interface with clients. I told them you were exactly what they were looking for." 50% more. That was real money, life-changing money. The kind of opportunity that didn't come along very often for guys like me. "When would they need an answer?" "Soon. They want to start the first phase in 6 weeks. It's a fast-track project." I thought about Keena at the Marriott downtown, about Lila calling me a jealous creep, about 15 years of trying to build something that was apparently falling apart anyway. "Can I think about it?" "Of course, but don't think too long. Opportunities like this don't wait around." I spent the rest of the day working on foundation forms and thinking about Colorado. Mountains, clean air, a chance to start over. The kind of place where a man could build something real, something that mattered. When I got home that evening, Keena's car was gone. Her late showing. I checked the time. 6:30. The Marriott was probably getting busy with the dinner crowd and travelers checking in for business meetings that weren't really business meetings. Lila was in the living room, doing homework with the television on. Some reality show about people competing to win money by humiliating themselves. "Where's your mom?" "Working. She said she'd be really late tonight." Lila didn't look up from her textbook. "There's leftover pizza in the fridge." I heated up 2 slices and sat down next to my daughter. On the screen, contestants were crawling through mud while a host with perfect teeth explained the rules of some ridiculous challenge. "Lila, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you happy here? In this house, I mean? In this town?" She looked at me then, really looked at me for the first time in weeks. "That's a weird question, Dad. Why?" "Just wondering. You're going to graduate next year, start thinking about college. I was curious about what you wanted. I want to go somewhere different, somewhere with actual opportunities." She turned back to her homework. "Mom says I should think about schools in bigger cities, places where people actually do things. People actually do things, as opposed to here, where apparently people like me just existed without really living." "What kind of things?" "I don't know. Important things. Mom says there's a whole world out there beyond this neighborhood, beyond this town. She says I shouldn't settle for small when I could have something bigger. Settle for small. Limited. The words my wife and daughter use to describe my life, my choices, my dreams. I finished my pizza and went upstairs. Keena's laptop was sitting on her dresser, closed but not locked away. I'd never been the kind of husband who snooped through his wife's personal things, but I'd also never been the kind of husband whose wife made hotel reservations with other men. The laptop opened to her email. I told myself I was just checking to see if she'd left any information about her showing, any details about when she'd be home. What I found was 3 months of messages that painted a picture I didn't want to see. Russ McCabe wasn't just a colleague. He was a confidant, a supporter, a man who understood Keena's potential in ways that her limited husband apparently couldn't. The messages started professionally enough, discussions about listings, market trends, client strategies, but somewhere around August the tone had shifted. You're wasted in this town, Keena. A woman with your intelligence and drive could be running her own agency in a real city. Sometimes I feel like I'm sleepwalking through my life, like I settled for safe instead of reaching for what I really wanted. Your husband seems like a nice enough guy, but does he really see you? Does he understand what you're capable of? I keep thinking about what you said, about not settling, about going after what I really want. The messages got more personal, more intimate. Plans for lunch meetings that turned into afternoon drives, compliments about her appearance, her intelligence, her wasted potential, and finally, reservations and room numbers and promises about showing her what it felt like to be truly appreciated. I sat there in my bedroom, reading about my wife's affair on her own laptop, and felt something cold and calculating settle into my chest. Not rage, exactly. Not heartbreak. Something more practical, more focused. She wanted me to be a man. She wanted me to stop being small, stop being limited. Got it. I closed the laptop and went back downstairs. Lila was still doing homework, the television still playing its parade of manufactured drama. I sat down next to her again. Kiddo, that question I asked earlier, about being happy here? Yeah? How would you feel about a change, a big change? She looked at me with something that might have been interest. What kind of change? I got offered a job today, out of state, good money, good opportunity, the kind of thing that could set us up for the future. Really? For the first time in months, she seemed genuinely engaged in a conversation with me. Where? Colorado, near Denver. It's a big construction project, mixed development. They want me to run it. That sounds amazing, Dad. Like actually amazing. When would we move? Well, that's the thing. It would depend on a lot of factors. Your school, your mom's work, whether the family wanted to stay together. Something flickered across her face. Uncertainty, maybe, or the first hint that big changes weren't always simple. Would Mom want to move? I don't know, sweetheart. We'd have to talk about it. But I did know. Keena was building a new life here, with new priorities and new relationships. The last thing she'd want was to follow her limited husband to Colorado, which was exactly why I was going to accept the job. I called Tommy the next morning and told him I was interested in the Colorado position. Very interested. You sure about this, Jace? It's a big move. What does Keena think? She's still processing it, but the opportunity is too good to pass up. All right. I'll set up a phone interview with the project manager. They'll want to talk specifics, timeline, expectations. You available this afternoon? Absolutely. The interview went better than I'd hoped. The project manager, a woman named Carol Hendricks, had worked with Tommy on a previous job and trusted his recommendation. She was direct, professional, and clearly knew her business. We're looking for someone who can hit the ground running, she explained. This is a fast-track project with tight deadlines and demanding clients, but if you can deliver what we need, there's potential for long-term work. We're planning 3 more developments in the region over the next 5 years. That sounds like exactly the kind of opportunity I'm looking for. Good. Tommy says you're reliable, skilled, and good with client relations. Those are the 3 things we care most about. Can you start in 6 weeks? 6 weeks. Enough time to get my affairs in order, to make arrangements, to set things in motion. Yes, ma'am. I can start in 6 weeks. Excellent. I'll have HR send you the formal offer and relocation package. Welcome to the team, Jace. I hung up feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Excitement about the future. Real excitement, not the careful optimism of a man who'd learned to expect disappointment. That evening, Keena came home at 11:30. She looked flushed and happy, her hair slightly mussed, her lipstick gone. She moved through the house like she was floating, humming that same tune from the night before. "How was your showing?" I asked from the couch, where I'd been reading contract specifications and pretending to watch television. "Good. Really good. The clients are very interested. I think we'll have an offer by the end of the week." She was lying smoothly, confidently, like she'd been practicing. I wondered how long this had been going on, how many late showings and client meetings had been something else entirely. "That's great, honey. I'm happy for you." She looked at me then, maybe hearing something different in my tone. "You seem, I don't know, different tonight." "Do I? Maybe I'm just tired. It's been a long day." "How was work?" "Interesting, actually. Tommy had some news about a potential opportunity. Big construction project out of state." I watched her face carefully, looking for any sign of interest or concern. What I saw was a flicker of something that looked like panic. "Out of state?" "Colorado, near Denver. They want me to run a mixed-use development. Shopping center, offices, residential units. 2-year contract to start." Wow, that's a big change." She sat down across from me, suddenly focused. "What did you tell them?" "I told them I was interested. Very interested. But what about my work? What about Lila's school? We can't just pick up and move across the country." "Why not? You're always saying this town is too small, that there aren't enough opportunities. Denver's a real city. Lila could finish high school there, maybe even get in-state tuition for college. But my clients, my listings, I've worked years to build my reputation here." Her reputation, with Russ McCabe and whoever else was helping her explore her potential. "You're talented, Keena. You could build a reputation anywhere, unless there's some reason you particularly want to stay here." The question hung in the air between us. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. It's sudden. We should think about this carefully, consider all the options." "Of course. Take all the time you need to think about it." But I'd already made my decision. With or without my family, I was going to Colorado. The next few days fell into a strange routine. Keena went to work, came home late, and made excuses about client meetings and market research. I went to work, came home on time, and spent my evenings researching Denver neighborhoods and school districts. Lila moved between us like a diplomat, sensing tension, but not understanding its source. On Thursday, I opened a new bank account at a different institution. On Friday, I contacted a lawyer, not the family attorney Keena, and I had used for our wills and house purchase, but a sharp woman named Patricia Vance, who specialized in what she carefully called domestic transitions. "What kind of timeline are we looking at?" she asked after I'd explained my situation. 6 weeks, maybe less. That's aggressive, but doable. The key is documentation and preparation. You'll want to establish financial independence, secure your assets, and make sure you have legal standing for any custody arrangements. What about the house? Who's on the deed? Both of us. Then you'll need to decide whether you want to sell, buy her out, or let her buy you out. Given that you're relocating and she's staying, the last option might be simplest. And if she can't qualify for the mortgage on her own? Patricia smiled grimly. Then you'll have leverage. I spent Saturday morning at the lawyer's office, signing papers and setting up accounts. Saturday afternoon, I drove to the Marriott downtown and sat in the parking lot, watching cars come and go. At 3:15, I saw Keena's Honda pull into a space near the side entrance. At 3:20, I saw Russ McCabe's silver Lexus park 2 spaces away. I didn't feel angry exactly. I felt vindicated, justified, like a man who'd been questioning his own sanity and finally found proof that he wasn't crazy after all. I drove home and spent the rest of the afternoon cleaning out the garage, boxing up tools and equipment I'd want to take with me. When Keena got home at 7, I was sitting at the kitchen table with a beer and a stack of real estate listings from the Denver area. "What's all this?" she asked, looking at the papers spread across the table. "Research. If we're going to move, I want to find the right neighborhood. Good schools for Lila, reasonable commute for you to get established with a new agency." "Jace, I've been thinking about this Colorado thing, and I'm not sure it's the right move for our family." "Really? Why not?" "Well, for one thing, Lila's got friends here, her whole social network. It would be cruel to uproot her in her senior year." I talked to Lila about it. She's excited about the possibility. She said it sounded amazing. "You talked to Lila without discussing it with me first?" "I mentioned it. Just like I'm mentioning it to you. We're a family. We should all have input on family decisions." She sat down across from me, and I could see her trying to find the right approach, the right argument. "The timing is just bad, Jace. I'm right in the middle of several big deals. The market here is finally picking up, and I'm positioned to really capitalize on it. This could be the year I break into the luxury market." "With Russ's help?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. Keena went very still. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just that you've been working closely with him lately. Lots of late meetings, weekend showings. He seems like a real mentor." "He's a colleague, Jace. A professional colleague who's been helping me develop my client base." "I'm sure he has." We stared at each other across the table, and I could see her trying to read my expression, trying to figure out how much I knew. "Are you accusing me of something?" "I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just noting that you seem very invested in staying here, in maintaining your professional relationships. That's fine. It's your choice." "What do you mean, my choice?" "I mean, the Colorado job is a good opportunity for me. If you don't want to come, I understand, but I'm not going to pass it up." "You're talking about moving across the country without your family." "I'm talking about taking a job that could set us up financially for the rest of our lives. If my family wants to be part of that, great. If not, we'll figure out how to make it work." She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the kitchen floor. "This is insane, Jace. You're talking about breaking up our family over some job in Colorado." "I'm not breaking up anything. I'm accepting a professional opportunity. You're the one who said I should be a man, stop being limited. This is me taking your advice." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." "Then what did you mean, Keena? What exactly did you want me to do differently?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. "How do you tell your husband you want him to be more like the man you're having an affair with? How do you explain that being a man means being someone else entirely?" "I want you to fight for us," she said finally. "For this marriage, for this family. I want you to care enough to work on our problems instead of just running away." "What problems, specifically?" "You know what problems." "No, I don't. Tell me." She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her weighing her options, trying to decide how much truth she was willing to reveal. "We've grown apart, Jace. We want different things. We've become different people." "You're right. We have become different people. The question is whether we're going to grow back together or keep growing apart." "And your solution is to move to Colorado?" "My solution is to build a better life. If you want to be part of that life, I'd love to have you. If you'd rather stay here and explore other options, I'll understand." "Other options? like Russ McCabe and his silver Lexus and his promises about her wasted potential. You're giving me an ultimatum. I'm giving you a choice. She left the room without another word, and I heard her footsteps on the stairs, then the sound of our bedroom door closing. I sat at the kitchen table, looking at real estate listings and feeling something that might have been relief. For the first time in months, maybe years, I knew exactly what I was doing. Monday morning, I submitted my formal acceptance of the Colorado position. Tuesday, I transferred my direct deposit to the new bank account. Wednesday, I removed Kina from our joint checking account and credit cards, leaving her access to the savings account and her own credit line. She discovered the changes on Thursday when her card was declined at the grocery store. I was at work when my phone started buzzing. 12 missed calls and a string of text messages that escalated from confusion to outrage to something approaching panic. What did you do to our accounts? My card isn't working. Call me now. This is financial abuse, Jace. I'm calling Patricia. Patricia. Interesting that she knew a lawyer's name off the top of her head. I waited until lunch to call her back. We need to talk, she said without preamble. Okay, let's talk. Not on the phone, at home. Tonight. I'll be there at 6. When I got home, Kina was sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers and a look that could have melted steel. Lila was nowhere to be seen, probably upstairs, hiding from whatever storm was brewing. Explain to me why I can't access our money. You can access the savings account and your credit cards. What you can't access is my paycheck. Your paycheck that pays for this house, our expenses, our life. My paycheck that I earn that gets deposited into an account with my name on it. The account I set up to manage the transition to Colorado. You can't just unilaterally change our financial arrangements. Actually, I can. Just like you can unilaterally change your work schedule to accommodate afternoon meetings at the Marriott downtown. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Kina's face went through several expressions before settling on defiance. I don't know what you think you know, but I know you've been having an affair with Russ McCabe for 3 months. I know you've been meeting him at hotels and telling me you're showing properties. I know you've been planning some kind of future that doesn't include your limited husband. She stared at me, and I could see her calculating, trying to decide whether to deny it or own it. How long have you known? Long enough. And you didn't say anything? What was I supposed to say? Honey, I noticed you're screwing your coworker. Could you please stop? You made your choice, Kina. I'm making mine. So you're punishing me by stealing our money and moving to Colorado? I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. And I'm not stealing anything. I'm redirecting my income to support my relocation. You're welcome to come with me, but if you choose to stay here with Russ, you'll need to figure out how to support that choice. She stood up, pacing to the window and back. This is crazy, Jace. We can work through this. Marriage counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. But you can't just blow up our entire life because I made a mistake. A mistake? 3 months of hotel meetings is a mistake? It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. She sat back down, and for a moment she looked like the woman I'd married, vulnerable, uncertain, human. I felt invisible, Jace. In this house, in this marriage, in this life. Like I was just going through the motions, playing a role that didn't fit anymore. Russ made me feel seen, appreciated, valued for who I really am. And who are you really, Kina? Someone with ambition. Someone who wants more than this small-town life, more than this little house and this limited future. Someone who deserves better. There it was. The truth she'd been dancing around for months. I wasn't enough. This life wasn't enough. I wasn't the man she wanted, and this wasn't the life she'd dreamed of. You're right, I said quietly. You do deserve better. You deserve a man who sees your potential, who supports your ambitions, who makes you feel valued. You deserve Russ McCabe and whatever life he's promising you. That's not what I'm saying. Yes, it is, and it's okay. I understand. What I don't understand is why you want to keep me around as some kind of safety net while you figure out your new life. I don't want to lose you, Jace. I don't want to lose our family. Then stop trying to have both. Choose. Me and Colorado and building something new together, or Russ and whatever future you two have planned. But you can't have both. You're being unreasonable. I'm being practical. I got offered a job that could change our lives. You got offered a relationship that could change your life. We both have choices to make. She was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. What about Lila? What about her? She needs stability. She needs both her parents. She needs parents who respect each other and themselves. Right now, she's got a mother who's having an affair and a father who's been pretending not to notice. How is that stable? So you're going to abandon her? I'm going to give her a choice, just like I'm giving you. She can come with me and start fresh in Colorado, or she can stay here and finish school. If she stays, I'll make sure she's taken care of financially. But I'm not going to stick around and pretend this marriage is working for anyone. Keena started crying then, not the angry tears of someone who'd been caught, but the exhausted tears of someone who'd been living a lie for too long. I never meant for it to happen this way. I know. I do love you, Jace. Maybe not the way I should, maybe not the way you deserve, but I do love you. I love you too, but love isn't enough if we want different lives. We sat there in our kitchen, surrounded by 17 years of shared history, and mourned the end of something that had probably been over for longer than either of us wanted to admit. How long do I have? She asked finally. To decide? 6 weeks? That's when I leave for Colorado. And if I choose to stay? Then you'll need to qualify for the mortgage on your own, or we'll need to sell the house and split the proceeds. I can't qualify for this mortgage on my real estate income. Then maybe Russ can help, or maybe you'll need to find something smaller, more affordable. You're really going to do this. I'm really going to do this. She nodded slowly, like she was finally accepting that this wasn't a negotiation or a threat, but a decision that had already been made. What do I tell people? Tell them whatever you want. Tell them I got a job offer I couldn't refuse. Tell them we grew apart. Tell them the truth. What is the truth? I thought about that for a moment. The truth is that you wanted me to be a man, and I finally listened. The next 2 weeks were the strangest of my marriage. Kana and I moved around each other like polite strangers, maintaining the appearance of normalcy while we quietly dismantled 17 years of shared life. She tried a few more times to negotiate, to find some middle ground that would let her keep both her old life and her new one. She suggested I take the Colorado job temporarily, just for a year or two, while she got her career established here. She proposed marriage counseling, couples retreats, anything that would delay the decision she didn't want to make. But I was done negotiating. For the first time in years, I had clarity about what I wanted and the means to get it. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger was too exhausting, too consuming. I was focused. Lila took the news about as well as could be expected. She was hurt, confused, and angry at both of us for disrupting her senior year. But when I explained the opportunity in Colorado, the chance for a fresh start, she began to see possibilities instead of just problems. Would I really get in-state tuition for college? After a year of residency, yes. And you said the schools there are better? Much better. More resources, more opportunities, better preparation for college. What about Mom? That was the question I couldn't answer for her. Your mom has to make her own choice about what she wants. She's not coming, is she? I don't know, sweetheart. I hope she will, but I can't make that decision for her. This is because of Russ, isn't it? I looked at my daughter, this almost adult who was more perceptive than I'd given her credit for. What do you know about Russ? I'm not blind, Dad. I see how Mom acts when he's around, how she talks about him. I see how she's been different lately. She was quiet for a moment. Are you getting divorced? I don't know. Maybe. Would that be okay with you? I don't want you guys to get divorced, but I also don't want you to be miserable. And lately, you both seem pretty miserable. What do you want to do about Colorado? She thought about it for a long time. I want to come with you, not because I don't love Mom, but because I think you're right about fresh starts, and because I don't want to be stuck in the middle of whatever mess this is going to become. Are you sure? I'm sure. But I want to finish the school year here, graduate with my class. Can we wait until summer? We can make that work. That night, I told Kina about Lila's decision. She took it about as well as I'd expected, which is to say she didn't take it well at all. You turned my daughter against me. I gave your daughter a choice. She made it herself. She's 17 years old. She doesn't understand the implications of what she's deciding. She understands that her family is falling apart, and she wants to be with the parent who's trying to build something instead of the parent who's tearing things down. I'm not tearing anything down. Really? What would you call the last 3 months? She didn't have an answer for that. The following week, I had lunch with Russ McCabe. I called him directly, told him I wanted to discuss something important, and suggested we meet at a diner downtown. He sounded nervous, but agreed. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth and looking like a man who'd been expecting this conversation for weeks. Up close, he was smaller than I'd remembered, average height, soft around the middle, with the kind of tan that came from a salon rather than actual outdoor work. Jace, thanks for meeting me. Thanks for coming. We ordered coffee and sat there for a moment, sizing each other up. He looked guilty and defensive. I probably looked calmer than he'd expected. I suppose you want to talk about Kina, he said finally. Actually, I want to talk about you, about what you're offering her, what you're promising, what your intentions are. I care about her, if that's what you're asking. I'm asking if you're serious about her, or if she's just a diversion from whatever else is going on in your life. I'm serious. Very serious. Good, because I'm moving to Colorado in 4 weeks, and I want to know that if she chooses to stay here, she's staying for something real. He blinked, clearly not expecting this approach. You're moving to Colorado? Job opportunity. Good money, good future. Kenna's not interested in coming with me, which I understand. She's got opportunities here, relationships here. But if she's going to build a new life, I want to make sure it's with someone who's committed to her. You're not going to fight for her? Fight for her? Russ, she's not a prize to be won. She's a woman who's made her choice about what she wants. My job isn't to fight for her. It's to respect her decision and make sure she has what she needs to be happy. That's very mature of you. It's practical. We want different things, different lives. Better to acknowledge that honestly than to keep pretending everything's fine. I leaned forward, meeting his eyes. But here's what I need to know. Are you planning to marry her, support her, help her build the life she's looking for? Or is this just an affair that's going to burn out once the excitement wears off? We haven't talked about marriage specifically. Then what have you talked about? About how she deserves better, about her potential, her intelligence, her ambition, about how she's been held back by circumstances. Held back by me, you mean? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Look, Russ, I'm not angry with you. Disappointed, maybe, but not angry. You saw something you wanted, and you went after it. I can respect that. But Kina's about to give up a 17-year marriage, a house, a stable life. If you're not prepared to offer her something equally substantial, you should probably step back and let her think this through more carefully. Are you threatening me? I'm asking you to be honest with her. And with yourself. If you're serious about building a life together, great. If you're just enjoying the attention and the excitement, then you're doing her a disservice. He was quiet for a long time, stirring his coffee and avoiding eye contact. "She's an amazing woman," he said finally. "Yes, she is. She's also a woman who's about to make some very big decisions. Make sure she's making them for the right reasons." I left him sitting in that booth, probably wondering what the hell had just happened. I'd expected to feel satisfaction or vindication or something. Instead, I just felt tired. That evening, Kina was waiting for me when I got home. "Russ said you had lunch with him today." "I did." "What did you talk about?" "His intentions, his plans, whether he's serious about you or just enjoying the drama." "And what did he say?" "What do you think he said?" She sat down heavily, like someone who'd been hoping for a different answer. "He's not ready to get married again. His divorce was messy, expensive. He wants to take things slow." "How slow?" "A few years, maybe, until his ex-wife remarries and he doesn't have to pay alimony anymore. A few years, long enough for Kana to lose the house, uproot her life, and discover that her great romance was really just a midlife crisis with good marketing." "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. I thought he was different. I thought he saw something in me that you didn't. He probably does see something in you that I don't. But that doesn't mean he's prepared to build a life around it. So what are my choices? Follow my husband to Colorado or wait around for my boyfriend to decide he's ready for commitment? Those aren't your only choices, Kina. You could build your own life, on your own terms. You could take the equity from the house, move to a bigger city, start over completely. You could do whatever you want. Alone. If that's what it takes to be happy, then yes. Alone. She was quiet for a long time. "I never wanted to hurt you, Jace. I know. I just wanted to feel alive again, like I mattered, like I was more than just someone's wife and someone's mother. You are more than that. You always were. But you have to decide what that means, and you have to be willing to build it yourself instead of waiting for someone else to hand it to you. Is that what you're doing? Building something yourself?" "Yes. For the first time in years, I'm building something that's mine. Something that reflects what I want, what I'm capable of, what I think is important. And there's no room in that for me. There's room for the woman who wants to build something with me. There's no room for the woman who wants to keep one foot in my life and one foot in someone else's." "That's fair," she said quietly. "Is it? Because I don't feel like I'm being fair. I feel like I'm being selfish and demanding and inflexible." "Maybe. But maybe that's what you need to be right now." We sat there in our kitchen one more time, surrounded by the remnants of a life we'd built together and the uncertainty of whatever came next. "I'm going to stay here," she said finally. "At least for now. Lila needs to finish school, and I need to figure out what I really want instead of just reacting to what other people offer me." "Okay. And you're still going to Colorado?" "Yes. With Lila. If she still wants to come, yes." "She does. We talked about it. She's excited about the opportunity, about starting over somewhere new. Are you okay with that?" "No. But I understand it. And I want what's best for her, even if it means she's not with me. She'll always be your daughter, Kina. Distance doesn't change that." "I know, I wish things had turned out differently." "Different how?" "I wish I'd been brave enough to talk to you about what I was feeling instead of looking for it somewhere else. I wish I'd been honest about what I wanted instead of trying to have everything at once. It's not too late for honesty. Yes, it is. Too late for us anyway." She was right, and we both knew it. Some things, once broken, couldn't be repaired. Some choices, once made, couldn't be unmade. But we could end this with dignity, with respect for what we'd built together and what we'd learned from watching it fall apart. "I'll make sure you're taken care of financially," I said. "The house, Lila's expenses, whatever you need to get established on your own." "Thank you. And if you ever decide you want something different, if you ever want to try again somewhere new, you know where to find me." "I know." We shook hands across the kitchen table, like business partners concluding a deal. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't passionate, but it was honest. After months of lies and half-truths and careful avoidance, honesty felt like a gift we could give each other. 3 weeks later, I was on a plane to Denver, looking down at the country spreading out below me like a map of possibilities. Lila would join me after graduation. Keena would figure out what came next, and for the first time in years, I was exactly where I wanted to be, doing exactly what I'd chosen to do, building exactly the life I thought was worth having. She'd told me to be a man. Turns out, she was right.